My name is David Pembroke and it's my very great pleasure to be your MC for today's launch of the John I. Dent Cup. Really, this is what rugby is all about in this city. In a year of Lions tours, Super Rugby and Test matches, I would argue that there is nothing more important than the ongoing success of the game than a strong and sustainable local competition. Strong local clubs leads to stronger competition and ultimately better opportunities for players. And I'm sure all of you are taking great pride in the players of your clubs, particularly those who are performing so outstandingly well for the Brumbies. So far, so good for the Super Rugby season so far for the Brumbies. One man who has been enjoying the season so far for the Brumbies is their CEO, Andrew Fagan, and I'd like to call upon him now to welcome you all here today on behalf of Andrew Fagan.
Thanks, David. Special guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the board of the ACT and Southern New South Wales Rugby Union, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you here to the launch of the 2013 ACT Monero Rugby season, and in particular the John I. Dent Cup. I would like to thank the Vikings Club Erindale, the Tuggeranong Vikings, for hosting us at the launch, and congratulations to the club also who are celebrating their 40th this year. But it all starts this weekend. It was a pleasure to watch the competition unfold last year, and I'm excited about the further step forward this year.
What sort of an off-season have you had at East?
I've had a very positive off-season. Very emphasis is on being rebuilding and sort of developing fitness and cohesion. We played well in matches last year, but about 20, 30 minutes. But for the rest of the game, so we fell off the ball. We sort of didn't pay attention. So just like playing for 80 minutes. Yeah.
So, Jeremy, your expectations for the year, having had the year that you had last year?
Well, obviously, mate, we just want to improve a fair bit on what's happened the last, probably not just last year, but probably the last 4 years. You know, we're not kidding ourselves, but we are going to be a very competitive side, and we're going to go out there and aim to make the semi-finals, mate. You know, we have a pretty good squad at the moment, particularly our forward pack, and then particularly again our back row is outstanding. So, you know, we are pushing for the semi-finals. It's a big call, but I think, you know, we're going to give it a fair shake. So.
I've spoken to Owen a lot this pre-season. We're working on trying not to peak in the first couple of rounds of our season. So getting those couple of home games will give us time to just, you know, settle into the competition and then have a pretty hard middle part and then come home strong again through into the finals, which will be good this year. We're pretty notorious for falling apart at finals time. Yeah,
I was going to ask you about that. You have shown such great promise through the seasons, but getting a little bit wobbly towards the end of when it starts to count.
We've come, you know, probably in the last 6 years with a good core, you know, 10 to 12 players, and we're retaining that this year, but we've got to look further than that. We've got to have those players that are stepping up through injuries or, you know, retirement. Those are the guys that we really need to be working on for the future of our club, and, you know, especially, you know, winning finals and taking home the John I. Dent.
Adam, that fourth place last year was a disappointment. What's a reasonable expectation for you for this season?
Oh, we'd like to go one step further. So I think, you know, we're working pretty hard on just some of the basic type of stuff that we need to do to make sure that we can be consistent each week.
Who's the biggest threat to you this year?
Probably ourselves. Just making sure that we are consistent throughout the year and don't drop the bundle halfway through the season or halfway through a game.
What are some of the things that you'll be working on?
I think in particular last year we leaked a few tries, so obviously defence is pretty key to us. Attack comes naturally. So if we can just fix up the defence around the park, that'd be good.
As a player, what do you look forward to about having those Brumby players being able to join the team at different times along the season?
Yeah, they provide a great leadership role. They help the leadership group out in the team, inject spark, and always welcome. So, and a few local boys that we get back, Robbie and and Nick, so they're always welcome to the club and we enjoy having them.
What sort of off-season have you had, and what's been the focus in the off-season?
The focus, again, is around that accountability, commitment and attitude. We've worked a lot on certain areas of the game which we identified as weaknesses in our game particularly last season, and we've worked really hard on sort of trying to rebuild that culture that the club had about 4 years ago when they were very successful winning competitions. I thought last year the competition improved quite considerably with the influx of those Brumbies players, and I think that has resulted in better rugby, better coaching, better players, better club players. I think it's just great for the competition, and we'll see again an improvement in that. Well, the Brumbies have improved out of sight, as we've seen by their results, and those players coming back to your trainings or respective clubs' trainings, you'll see improvement in training sessions and on game day as well. So the competition again will improve quite considerably.
But I think it's just that new enthusiasm. I think he's just eager to go. We've had a pretty good pre-season, as you mentioned, that reps program in the off-season. I guess historically we tend to start pretty slow. The past few years we sort of tend to have a pretty slow start to the year, lose a few games, and we sort of, as we build as a team, we sort of pick up the pace. But starting, I guess, October, we probably started the reps program, and everyone's been gelling and building since then.
Explain to me this reps program. What was that all about?
I guess as a culture, we have it's a sort of like a first grade, second grade squad, a few Colts in there as well. So it's a way to just build, I guess, our current playing stocks as opposed to sort of seeking outside sources and sort of recruiting. We tend to take the approach of just recruiting what we have, and it's so far so good, I guess.
Roars have always had a reputation of being a tough football team, and we certainly want to keep driving that attitude. The boys have worked really hard. The support that I've been given from off the field's been fantastic from the board to let me just coach, and we've had a good program over the first 2 months, and we'll see where we're at on Saturday against Gungawa, and it'll be a massive hurdle. But look, just making the four will be tough. I think it is, looking at it over a number of years and being out of it for 2 years. I think it is. It'll be the toughest comp for a long while, just to make the four. So expectations to make the four would be the stepping stone for most teams, and see where you sit in the ladder once you get to that final four, if you do make it.
And what about that big turnover in players? How difficult do you see it's going to be in trying to settle the team into a harmonious unit that's winning games from early in the season?
Start with the start of the season, it's going to be hard with young boys putting their hands up. We spoke about it during our camp with that, for the young boys, if they want to be in the top side, they have to put their hand up, and they're doing it. So, with doing the extras outside of training, it shows that they really want to be in the team, and, that's going to be up to Brad to pick the team that he wants out on the field every Saturday. So, it's going to be a challenge for him. But, for us as players, we're going to just have to put up with it and turn up on Saturday and play.
Yes, the expectations of being the Vikings coach are always high. How are you going to manage that?
Oh, look, I think any time you take on a job like Vikings, the expectations are quite high, but what's important is we've got really high expectations on ourselves as well and our weekly performance, and I think if we focus on that and get that right, then things will take care of itself.
Celebrating 40 years is what your jersey, your shirt says here. Does that add a little bit more expectation that you, in the year of the 40th birthday of the Tuggeranong Valley Rugby Union Club, that you will bring home the premiership again?
Look, I think externally it probably does, but internally from the playing group's perspective, again, it's just about us. We're a group that just represents the club in its 40th year. None of us were around in the initial year of the club, but externally the club will certainly want to be successful, but again, internally it's just about us performing each week.
We've got a really high turnover rate usually at Uni North, just with boys coming in from uni. They stay 2-3 years, a couple of years at Colts and 1 year of first grade, and then they're off doing something else. This year we've managed to keep pretty much the full first grade team from last year, plus a few new key players. So hopefully from that we can make a big difference. We've really gelled as a group, and we've had a really good pre-season. Had a few games. We had the university tournament. We had a game against Gungahlin the other week, and we've we've stepped up and really showed what we're capable of this year. Last year, especially towards the end of the season, when we lacked a bit of depth and our defence went out the window a little bit. This year, we've really stepped up, worked on that, and also just our general around the park decision making and things. Last year, we tended to make a few stupid decisions, and on a mistake, the other team were able to capitalise quite easily. This year, we've really worked on that, and we've got a good plan ahead.
We've spent a fair bit of time with the strength and conditioning guys, not so much doing it, but just watching what sort of stock we've got. The strength and conditioning guys have smashed them this year and handed us some pretty good bricks to build with. So we're reasonably confident that we'll do better than we have done, and we've watched a lot of video, and our defensive game, I think, did let us down last year. We've worked hard on that, but the forwards have worked really hard on contesting everything, particularly around the breakdown, and that's where we'll be focusing to start with. No point in trying to get fancy until you know you've got the basics under control.
What's the area that you need to improve to finally take the title?
I think there's two. It's just the execution and attitude, and I think most clubs will agree with that. It's just you've got to have the right attitude Tuesday, Thursday nights at training, and then be able to turn up on a Saturday and be prepared to play rugby. It's disappointing we've lost two in a row, but we're hoping we can go one better this year. But with second grade being co-premiers last year, a really competitive Colt side, and as we said, we've retained just about everyone in first grade. It's going to be a really strong club moving forward for this year.
So the focus really at this stage would be the 4. Is that what you're aiming to achieve?
Yeah, that's it. I think everyone will agree. Once you get to semi-final football, it does change. It's it's a grind. The first part of the season is to actually get there, and then see what happens from there.
What are those benefits of being able to hold players together for long periods of time in teams?
I guess the main thing is for keeping similar structures that we had last year. Then it's easier to adapt and then make some modifications to those rather than starting from scratch again. So it's probably the key thing at the moment.
Would you agree with the general mood that the competition is going to be harder than it's ever been?
Yeah, I think obviously with the influx of the Brumbies players, and then you can see through your booklets the clubs have recruited pretty strongly, in particular a couple of them, that the standard's going to lift, and obviously everyone's trying to chase down Tuggeranong, so I'm sure they're going to improve themselves. So it's going to be a tough ask, no matter who's in the final series.
And best of luck to all of the clubs for this season, and we'll finish it. You can get up and mix and mingle, but we will leave the highlights on from last year. So thanks very much for coming, and it should be a great year. So best of luck to all the teams. Thanks very much.